Dadarsh deho hatakalmashasati Sadhya prajajwala samadhijanina. Ladies, Vaishnavis. Tata svabhartus charanam bhujasavo Jagat Guru Shintayati Nachapara Tadasya Sadhya Prajajwala Samadhi Tata Svabhartus Charanam Bhujasava Jagat Guru Shintayati Nachapara Dadarsha Deho Hatakalmashasati Sadhya Prajajwala Samadhijami Tata Svabhartus Charanam Bhujasa Guru Chintayati Nachaparam Dadarsha Deho Hatakalmashasati Sadhya Prajajwala Samadhijami Tata Der Swabhartu. Swa comes into a lot of European languages like sui generis, sua in Portuguese, in Latin. The swa word comes into at least 8 European languages I know. So interesting. Swabhartu, of her husband. Charanambuja savam. We usually say Charanambuja, we say lotus feet, but if you notice the Sanskrit, it says feet lotus. Oh my God. Very sorry. Very sorry, very sorry. I usually turn this off. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, we usually say lotus feet, but Sanskrit is interesting. It says feet lotus. Same with the lotus eyes. If you read it, Ambujeksha, it says, it doesn't say lotus eyes, it says eyes lotus. Why do they do that? Because they want to emphasize more on the lotus. That's the way you see your master's feet, your guru, your Krishna. You have your own Krishna reserved for you. You have your own relationship. It doesn't break. Even if Krishna doesn't want to break it. Even if he tries, he wouldn't do it. He loves us too much. So lotus feet, it's in Sanskrit it goes feet lotus, charanambujam, because they're more focusing on the idea of the word and what it's supposed to communicate to us. So it's quite fascinating. It's sometimes we think because everything is in Sanskrit, sometimes we think it's also serious. No, it's not. There's quite a bit of humor. There's quite a bit of rasa. There's quite a bit of taste already just in the language. So it's quite interesting. Okay, where am I going? Jagat Guru, of the spiritual teacher of the universe, Chintayati, meditating, not, cha, and aparam, not other. Aparam in Sanskrit is also comes as netara, na itara, and itara comes into English as other. Itara, other, same words. E-a, doesn't take much. Dadarsha, sa, deha, her body, hatakalmasha, taints of sin being destroyed. Sati, Sati, Sadhya, soon, Prajajwala, burned, Samadhi Jagni, by fire produced by meditation. Oh God, just on that Samadhi Jagni I could keep talking for, but I don't want to bore you with linguistics. Who is the supreme spiritual master of all the worlds? Thus she became completely cleansed of all taints of sin and quit her body in a blazing fire by meditation on the fairy elements. Wow. So, let's see this. How are we going to take this? Let me give you a little recap of what happened so far. Yeah. So this story is quite an intense story. As you can see, this Sati, I don't know, some of non-Indians who haven't been acquainted with Indian, like subcontinental culture, Sati was followed even until 20th century, maybe 19th, 20th centuries, where a wife would, in the pain of her husband's separation, or in the pain of her husband, so she just kind of gives up her body in yoga. So it's quite an intense. So we'll just do a recap. It's an intense story. So we have three protagonists. Anybody understands protagonist? Protagonist is anybody? No? Protagonist is like the main anchor of the stories. It's like a main anchor of the stories. Now we call hero or heroines or something like that. But the original word for that, from scholarly point of view, they call protagonists. So protagonists. So there's three protagonists in this story. One is obviously Daksha. So Daksha is quite consistently was performing a universal yagna. So yagna comes universal. Yagna is not something Hindus do in India. No. Yagna is everywhere in the universe. I can talk about yagnas in everywhere in the universe until cows come home. Like, it's not some Indian thing. Please trust me. So even in Bhagavad Gita, right in the beginning, Krishna says, what is this? Saha yagna praja srishtva pura vacha prajapati yena vosh ishto kamadhuk anena prasavishadham yesa vosh ishto kamadhuk. So Krishna says in Karma Yoga, the first chapter, Saha yagna praja srishtva pura vacha prajapati. When I started the prajapatis of this universe, I sent them saha yagna, with the principles of yagna. Anena prasavishadham. In this way, by regarding me and regarding the demigods, Devan Bhaveta Anena, by regarding the angels of this universe, you start this cycle, evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati haya. There is a cycle that's going on in this universe of receiving and giving. You don't just take, you give it back. That's the cycle. So he says, Anena prasavishadhvam, I've provided to you so many varieties of yagnas, yesavoshishto kamaduk. In this way, you can be completely satisfied. In this way, you can completely meet your requirements of your body, mind and soul, BMW. And then you can start turning around and perhaps look at me. So Krishna is like, remember me, guys? So yagna is not so this yagna was started by Daksha. So the first protagonist was Daksha. But Daksha obviously will first consider the issues with this yagna. Daksha was a very typical, I might have spoken this previously, Daksha was a very typical conventionalist religion. Like, you might call him right-wing, or you might even call him the deontologist. Did I speak about that before? Deontologist is who are strongly, firmly, it's called orthopractice, orthopraxy. It means they believe more on the practice they're firmly grounded on the rituals than the philosophy behind it. They're called deontologists. So in the academic world, they're called deontologists. So the ethic, the ethic is based on the act. They're not considering the consequence. You understand? But if you don't take the consequence of the act, regardless of how beautiful your act is looking, how ethical it might be looking, if it hasn't considered the consequence, that yajna is no good. So Krishna talks about all this in 17th chapter. So anyway, I won't bore you with all that today. So he started this yajna, but he was a deontologist, orthopraxy. The whole idea was in the practice of it, not on the consequence. And he's hacked this plutocracy. You understand plutocracy? Plutocracy is the rule by the rich. I don't have to explain to you about that. The rule by the rich, it's called plutocracy. So Daksha was like the status. Daksha was like the prosperity gospel. I'm entitled because I'm in the religion, because I'm doing the yajna. I'm entitled to these fruits of these yajnas. I'm entitled to this esteem. He has this tunnel vision about Vedas. He has this tunnel vision about Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas are not tunnel vision. Sarva bhuta hiterata. Vaishnavas are sarva bhuta hiterata. They'll bend the rules, they'll go to the farthest, they'll adjust everything if it means to bring a soul back to Krishna's feet. That's Vaishnava. 1.5.22 Bhagavatam, Prabhupada gives a very elaborate explanation about this. He who thinks, he calls like, he who thinks like everything has to be done but as a similar like India when you go out, even when you're outside, he says like that's a fool, that's puffed up. These are the language he speaks. So Vaishnavas, they go out of their way, they do any adjustment. The point is to bring an Atma to Krishna's feet. That's the point. You understand? So Daksha had this tunnel vision. It's all about rituals. It's all about how your costumes are, how your jargon is, how your phrases are. Are you using the right phrases of a particular organization, of an institution? He's like that. So that's fun. Shiva on the other side is completely opposite. Shiva is consequence based. Shiva is, he'll go to any extent to adjust. He'll go to any extent. I'm a bhuta. Can't you see, Lord Shiva, I don't have a head? He's like, that's fine, you're in. Okay. He's like that. He'll bend the rules. And I also sometimes suspect the reason maybe he didn't pay attention. Of course he was in very strong samadhi. But I also sometimes suspect is one of the reasons that he was so focused in the meditation to just neglect the orthopraxis of that yajna. Orthodoxy is the focus on the truth of a religion. But orthopraxy, sorry, I use all these words that you might thinking, God, what is he talking about? So orthodoxy, you might have heard that, orthodoxy. Orthodoxy is the focus on truth, but orthopraxy is the focus on the practice. We have to bring that both together. We have to bring that back together. It has to be done. It's like rail tracks parallelly. So Daksha kind of lost. Shiva, I always suspect maybe maybe there was a reason he was neglecting that kind of orthopraxy there in that yajna. Everything about the adharyu, the ritviks, the practice, the chants, the accents, the Sanskrit, the meters, the pomp, he's like, Shiva is like, what, get out of here, guys. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare. They're going, Om Swaha, and he's going, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And Daksha is going, where am I hearing this noise from? He's like, oh, Shiva, Damn, I hate this guy. so, so he never listens to me, does he? He's supposed to be my father. He's supposed to be my son-in-law, for God's sake. So Shiva is like, he comes completely opposite. Like he breaks the rule. He questions the status quo. See, this is this emblem of Vaishnava. Please understand. Please understand. Please listen to this carefully. This is the emblem of a Vaishnava. You are always open for correction. We are always open for corrections. We are always invite corrections. Before someone corrects us, we always challenge ourselves. Please understand. You don't go on this self-righteous rampage, self-righteousness. We are the torch bearers of this world. We have the good book, the good book, the good book. It's not like that. Even before someone corrects us, we have to always challenge ourselves. We have to always question ourselves. You see in the mirror every day. Can you put your hands on your heart today, Radhika Prasad? And tell yourself you've done your best, you tried your best. What is that about? That was a bit of a show off. Did you really need to do that? We have to go in front of the mirror. We have to question ourselves. And by the way, what is that you're talking on the other day? Excuse me? Check yourself in the mirror every day. That is a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is not just dhoti, tilak and kurta and kanti beads and rubber stamp that will go to Vaikuntha. The plane will arrive at the end, You got a name, the Diksha name, you got the tilak, you got the kanti mala. It's like you got the ticket is, the seat is booked. No, it doesn't work like that. What do you think? Nah, come on. You can't gate crash into City Hall. How can you gate crash into a Vaishnava plane, for God's sake? So it doesn't work like that. You challenge yourself every day. You look in the mirror, straight into your eyes. Straight into your eyes. Beam. Challenge yourself. Are you doing your best? That's a Vaishnava. That's what Shiva makes you do. He checks you. He checks your practices. He checks your orthopraxies. He doesn't give a toss to your orthodoxies. He's like consequence based. Deontologist, he's like, go to hell. He's completely different angle. And then we have the third protagonist, and she is Sati. So we have to really, really, really look at Sati with close attention. Yeah, she is exhibiting the real practice of yoga. Please understand, yoga is not something in Banaras. Yoga is not something comes from Rishikesh or Banaras or some Nepal or Kathmandu. No, yoga happens every day. Has anybody read a little bit about Alexander? Alexander the Great. I'm talking about our Alexander the Great. Anybody? Alexander? I'll tell you, just to give you the how prominent yoga was even before, like we're talking 330, when was he born? 332 minus plus 16, somewhere in 342, 348, 342. 342, somewhere like that, don't quote me. I'm rusty a little bit. Somewhere about 342 BC Alexander was born, and he was trained, he went away, left his father, he goes away. He was trained very, very, come on. He was trained by Aristotle. Aristotle was his master. Can you believe this? And Aristotle's teacher was Plato. Real true Vaishnavas. Just because they are on the other side of the ocean doesn't mean they are Vaishnavas. They are definitely Bhakta Aristotle and Bhakta Plato. I can quote you 500 verses of Bhagavad Gita throughout the Aristotle and Plato's books. Trust me. So Alexander was the real fierce warrior, and he believed that he was the son of Zeus, Indra. They used to call the god of the Ammon. They used to call him Ammon, Zeus. So he was always into the spiritual quest. We've been told the wrong story about Alexander, that he wanted to become the unconquerable king, emperor of the world. No. he had specific instructions from Aristotle to unite the world under one banner, under one dharma. Can you believe it? You'll never see the academic scholars speak about this. That was actually his motive, to get out of Macedonia, pull out the Greeks together, come to Persia, unite Persia, Babylon, and then go down to Egypt. And then what happens, this is very interesting, this is the climax of the story. What happened, so after he conquered half of Persia, and he really took over the Europe, practically, for all means. And then interestingly, people were thinking he'd keep heading east, but interestingly, all of a sudden, he goes south. Thinking, what the hell is this guy doing? And then he goes to, all of a sudden, he turns, he takes his best commanders, he goes on a pilgrimage to a temple called Siva in the middle of the desert. Nobody survives that travel. Nobody survived that except Alexander. So he goes to this temple of Siva and he meets the oracle who confirms that he is the son of Zeus, Indra, and then he comes back. So the reason for me to tell you the story of Alexander is everywhere he was going, he was watching yogis. Everywhere he was going, he was meeting yogis. Everywhere he would go, he would take Bhagavatam classes with the yogis. I'm serious. He would sit, the yogis would be sitting up, he'd be sitting down on the floor. Everywhere he went, he used to go for unprecedented pilgrimages just to listen to a yogi. That's all he'd do. Even when he came to India, this is very fascinating. So this is his first trip to India. And then he goes to India. And then imagine a Macedonian fierce warrior all of a sudden comes to India and is going, what is this place? Like, the yogis hanging from the tree, their hatha yogis buried until their necks buried under the earth. And there's people floating on the waters. Like, how do you do that? Like, just somersaulting and floating on the waters. And Alexander is like, I've tried everything, not that yet. So finally he comes to this saint. His name is Kalyan Rishi. So I've gone because the reason I read Alexander very thoroughly, because I was interested with Chanakya's history. And the reason I read that is because Alexander eventually comes and meets Chanakya's disciple Chandragupta. So the reason for me to reading Alexander was because I was really interested with Chanakya, and I read through the whole thing inside out. So he comes and he meets Rishi Dandyayan and Rishi Kalyan. They were like the top, the Pope of Vaticans. They were like the top of the cream of the crops of India in those days. Kalyan Rishi and Dandyayan Rishi. So he comes to their ashram, he's in front of the ashram. And Kalyan Rishi is laying on the floor, completely naked. Don't try this at home. Yeah, don't try this at home. So Kalyan Rishi is just on the bed, just a flat rock on the sun. And he talks a lot. Kalyan Rishi says to Alexander, what the hell, what are you doing here? He says, I'm here to conquer the world and bring them, unite under one umbrella. Kalyan Rishi says, you are so stupid. And Alexander said, nobody speaks to me like that. You are so stupid. You are controlling the uncontrollable. And he throws a deer skin, a dry deer skin in front of him. And he presses one side of the deer skin. And he says, can you see what's happening, Alexander? He says, yeah, the other edge goes up. And he says, he presses the other end now. And Kalyan Rishi goes, can you see now what's happening, Alexandra? He used to call him Alexandra. Alexander, Alexandra, same words. So Alexandra, can you see what's happening? He said, oh, now this time the other thing going. That is what's going to happen to your so-called united world. You're going to try to control here. This end is going to raise on you. You're going to control here. This end is going to raise on you. What are you trying to control? Control your senses, for God's sake. And he laughs like that. Big laugh. He goes, you can't control your senses and you want to control this world? You stupid idiot. And Alexander is like, I've never seen anybody talk to me like this. Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, there was one guy who used to speak to me like this. And his name was Diogenes. He was in Macedonia. He was my teacher's student, a little elder to me, like Advaita and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like, same teachers, but Advaita is a little elder. So he used to say, oh, they were a little elder. He used to call me like this all the time, stupid, idiot, and all this. And he looks at the sky for some time and he says, regardless of its Macedonia, regardless of its Babylon, regardless of its Egypt, regardless of its India or China, the saints and the yogis always behave the same. They have a same response. They behave similarly everywhere I go on this planet. This is his verbatim words from Alexander. So the yogic thing that Sati is trying here, flaming herself into, it's nothing new. It's not like an Indian thing. It's not like Bharat or something. This was everywhere. And I've just spoken about earthly planet. I can speak to you until cows come home, the whole universe. The yoga is everywhere in the universe. So Sati is not displaying some Indian thing. She is furious. She's a real yogi. She can generate that fire of Brahmagni through her heart. She saw this. What is going on here? A good devotee, who happens to be my husband, of course. I'm going to protect my better half. So, one, she's extremely furious that Lord Shiva has been, this is, I think, Mahashivaratri, we've just passed. One, this is extreme childishness on behalf of these great Prajapatis and demigods to insult and tolerate an insult against Shiva. That's one thing. Now taking it to the next level is removing him out of the yajna recipients. There's one thing insulting him, the other thing removing him from one of the main yajna recipients. Now this is too much. I paid for $10. You're giving me $100. You give me $100 worth here. I don't want it. So she's extremely furious. She wants to correct the situation. And remember, I'll just give you a little proof of how foolish the story of Daksha, the happenings with Daksha was. I'll just give you a little hint. Right? This is the same Lord Shiva after millenniums, when during Kshirosagar Mathana, when the demigods and the demons were fighting for the nectar and a whole heap of poison comes. Who rescued all of this? Even Daksha. Who rescued them all? Just fast forward the story, right? From Daksha Yagna, let's fast forward the story, right? And you come to Kshirosagar Mathana, you read that, of course? Of course. So, who rescued them from this gigantic ocean of poison? Anybody take a guess? Lord Shiva, isn't it? Very good. Thank you very much. Can you catch it? Oh, good catch. Thank you. So, who rescued her? Who rescued the whole planet? Daksha was in there. Amen? So, sometimes I put myself into Daksha's shoes and thinking, oh, ouch. and Sati looking at him, this is the person he was insulting. Do you remember? He just saved your neck there. Oh. So fast forward the story, and when see this expansively, everything that was going at this Daksha Yagna was very, very foolish. It was extremely foolish. So you have these right-wing devotees, right-wing like deontologists, act-based ethics. It's all orthopraxy. How many rounds of arti have you done? Did you just miss? Did I see you catch you missing one round during the arti? Did you do that? It was supposed to be 11. I think I saw 10 and half. Catch them by these orthopraxies. That's Daksha. Shiva is that, did you have your heart? Yeah. Did you chant Hare Krishna? Yeah. You're in. That's Shiva's mentality. And Sati is rectifying. Sati is the rectifier. She's the mother. She got to pull this together now. She needs to give us the real wisdom. So this is the yoga. Yoga is you focus on the lotus feet of a devotee. Foot lotus, sorry. So you focus on the foot lotus of a devotee. You focus on the foot lotus of your Radha Krishna deity in your heart. And then that's the Yogagni. Then you let it go. It's like, Dadichi Muni. Did I give you the example? Dadichi Muni just gets up and notices, oh, where's my body? Oh, keeps walking. Somebody actually asked me yesterday in the books distribution. They were very sorry. I keep going like up and down and up and down. I'll come back. It's not, I'm not having a middle-age crisis here. I'll be back to this story. So, Sankirtan, quick Sankirtan story? Yeah? Always Sankirtan stories are good, right? So, yesterday I met this guy, my really, really old friend. We were friends like God, 30, 40 years, I don't know. I'm dating myself now. So, he met me and he said that some of his friends died. And he said to me, you've been doing this for what? I've seen you hanging around jumping with these Hare Krishnas for a while. Do you have an answer for my question? So he said, I lost a couple of my friends. Are you? And I'm grieving. Like I'm putting a bold face. I'm grieving. I've lost two of my friends. Where are they? I said, yeah, that's a good question. Where are they? You should think about it. The body is gone. Where are the persons? I'm glad you're starting to think about this. And he put his hands like this to me and he goes, so are you sure where will you be when you die? What is going to happen to you? Are you sure? Like what happens to you when you die? What do you think is going to happen to you? You speak like, there is some boldness in your talk. What is going to happen to you? You die. Anytime you can die. I said, I can die anytime. But I hope, and I have a strong feeling that there is a good chance I'll move to the service of my next service to my spiritual master. That I definitely have confidence in. I don't know if I'll be in Patala. I don't know if I'll be in Swarga. I don't know if the Vaikuntha plane might just shut before I get there. Oh, the pilot is sorry, you missed it. Sorry, the ramp is closed. We've taken the tunnel off now. I'm sorry. So I could miss the flight, and of course, I don't deserve to sit in the flight anyway. I never thought I'd deserve. So I could be in Patala, but one thing I'm sure, I have a strong confidence that I might just move to my next service to my Guru. Oh my! He's watching me. He said, You guys are different, you guys, like Hare Krishnas, it's hard to come back to you guys. And I said, please understand, please accumulate a consciousness. It's the consciousness that you accumulate. It's the consciousness that you are at the end of your life. When you're dying, you have to be confident. You have to be confident when you're dying. Of course, some deaths are scary, it's fearful. Of course, I'm not saying like car crash and you can say, oh yeah, come the car crash. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, of course, it might be traumatic. Some of us it could be a traumatic end. I'm not denying the fact. What I'm saying is, as a principle, there's no need to fear death. Please trust me. There's no need to fear death as a principle. Of course, it could be a traumatic situation. Of course, the hospital is not like, a place that you want to wallow on a bed or something. Of course not. Of course, a car crash is not something you want to die. Of course not. What I'm trying to say is, as a principle, death is not something you need to fear. You just get up, the conscious entity, the body falls, your conscious entity rises, and it goes to the next service. Whatever your consciousness is, it just attracts you to your next destination. Don't be doubtful about that. Don't let people make you suspicious about your path. Don't let that. You understand what I'm trying to say? Does that make sense? We have to be confident about the path. It's good, yeah? Okay, so that was a little Sankirtan story. We've discussed three protagonists. That's the yoga. Yoga is everywhere. Yoga doesn't limit it to India or something. Yoga, it's everywhere. So maybe I should start reading the purport, yeah? So that you don't go and ask for refunds. Because we don't do refunds. Hare Krishnas, we don't do refunds. we lost the machine of refunds. So, Sati at once thought of the lotus feet of, what time have we got? Okay, got some time. I want to leave some time for questions. Because I've been doing, like Daksha, I want you please think of some questions, yeah? I want to leave some time for questions. I'll do this quickly. Sati at once thought of the lotus feet of her husband Lord Shiva, who is one of the three great personalities of Godhead in charge of the management of material world, and simply by meditating on his lotus feet, she derived such great pleasure that she forgot everything in relationship with her body. I can do like 20 classes on who is the great personalities of this world. The Shiva, the representative of entropy, the Brahma, the representative of the formation of the universe, and Vishnu, the representative of statis, the management of this universe. I can do like 30 classes on that. So it's quite fascinating to see scientifically. There is a reason why Prabhupada keeps saying it's science, it's science, it's science, it's science. It's not a hyperbole, it's not an exaggeration. I can prove to you it is a science. Okay, I just need some time. We don't have much today, yeah? This pleasure was certainly material. This pleasure was certainly material because she gave up her body for another body. That was also material. But by his example, we can appreciate the devotee's pleasure in concentrating his mind, same words, focusing his or her mind at the attention on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu or Krishna. There is such transcendental bliss in simply meditating on the lotus feet of Lord that one can forget everything but the Lord's transcendental form. This is the perfection of yogic samadhi. So, anybody read Yoga Sutras? I'm compiling a book on Yoga Sutra for the sake of Vaishnavas. And there is a verse, like one of the aphorisms, maxims in Yoga Sutra, one of the sutras is, you may know, some of you may have heard, it says, Swarupa Siddhi Ishvara Pranidhana. Yeah, now it rings a bell. Yeah, I know. So Swarupa Siddhi. Were you anybody in Gurukuls before? No? If you were in Gurukuls, these kind of things you will come across. So in Yoga Sutra, one of the principles, just like you have Atato Brahma Jignasa in Brahma Sutra, Janmadhyasya Yatha, Shastra Unitvat, these are all Brahma Sutras. Am I completely throwing you off the ground here? Yeah, stop me. Just say, Radhika Prasad, slow down on your pills. Yeah? So just like you have Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra, Thato Brahma Jignasa, Shastra Unitvat, and, So, we have Yoga Sutra. So one of the main sutras, very important, is Swarupa Avasthita Ishvara Pranidhanat. Swarupa Avasthita. Attain your constitutional, attain your conscious entity as Atma by Ishvara Pranidhanat. Now please tell me, what is yoga, even from Patanjali's point of view? Swarupa Siddhi. Swarupa means your original constitutional position. Siddhi, attain. Ishvara Pranidhanat. By how? By putting your consciousness, Pranidhanat, at the feet of your Ishvara, at the feet of Krishna. Now you tell me, what does Patanjali have his mind when he's writing Yoga Sutras? I leave it to you. Please be the judge. This is a perfect Vaishnava book. Yoga Sutra is a perfect Vaishnava book. I'm compiling it together because I want to show that Patanjali knew all the Vaishnava philosophy inside out. You can tell by the words. It's very important. So she is here completely focused and placed her feet, placed her consciousness at the samadhi, as samadhi at the lotus feet of a Gunavatar of Krishna. Not such a bad deal. You know, we run for Boxing Day sales and Black Friday sales. This is a good deal. We got a deal here. Focus on the lotus feet, foot lotus. So where was I? Samadhi. This is the perfection of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. In this verse it is stated that by such meditation she became free of all contamination. What was that contamination? The contamination was her concept of body derived from Daksha. But she forgot that bodily relationship in trance. The purport is that when one becomes free from all bodily relationships with this material world and simply places himself or herself in the position of an eternal servant of Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that all the contamination of this material attachment has been burned by the blazing fire of transcendental ecstasy. Which is the reason I always say you have to by heart Ishopanishad inside out. Please take this. Please take this as my earnest request to by heart Ishopanishad inside out. Ishopanishad gives you the right structure to understand any Vaishnava philosophy. Bhagavad, Mahabharat, Ramayana, any Vaishnava philosophy, Ishopanishad gives you the structure. It is the foundation. So there's only 18 shlokas. Not so bad. Please try to completely by heart Ishopanishad 18 shlokas. And why did I say that? So there's a very interesting verse in Ishopanishad. It's a paradoxical. People from, like great scholar from Oxford, I know great scholars from Oxford, Harvard, Yale, struggling with this verse in Ishopanishad, and it is bit rusty. Maybe I should by heart first. No, I do, sorry. Vidyayam cha yastad vedo bhayam saha. Vidyayam cha avidyayam cha yastad vedo bhayam saha. Avidyayam mrutyum tvitva vidyayam amrutam ashnute. Vidyayam cha vidyayam cha. Know both vidya and avidya. You have to distinguish properly between vidya and avidya, ignorance. Did you see? You don't neglect. You have to see your ignorance face to face, stare into your eyes until it's scared and runs away. Look at your ignorance in the eyes until it's so scared and it runs away. Do that. Vidyayam cha avidyayam cha. Yastad vedo ubhayam cha. Ubhayam means you have to know both. Avidyayam mrutyum tirtva. By staring and understanding the avidya of this world, the bodily attachments, taking your body as yourself, by staring and chasing the avidya away, mrutyum tirtva. What do? You cross over mrityu, you cross over the death. You cross over your mortality. And then what does it say? Vidyayam amrutam ashnute. Then you come to the point of amrutam, life. Then you come to the point of your soul. Then you act as your soul. You have to act as a soul, as an atma, as a conscious entity. Stop acting like a body. Stop it. You know why? It's a rip-off. The reason we have to stop acting like bodies, it's a rip-off. It's like you're paying $500. It's like you're paying $50,000, not 500. Let me exaggerate this. Stretch the exaggeration out. It's like you're paying $50,000 for a USB. Would you pay $50,000 for a USB? Acting like a body is like paying $50,000 for a USB. USB costs $2 in Office Works. Why are you paying $50,000 for it? So avidyayam mrutyum tirtvam vidyam amrutam ashnute. You act like an atma, conscious entity, like the soul. You follow me? You understand? So Sati is burning avidyaya mrityuntirtha, her ignorance. Any attachment that there was still lingering, she's burning it away. And then she's focusing on the feet of her bharta and she's going. There are some mentions here that about, well, I don't know how much time I have. Okay, let's do it quickly. Okay, Radhika Prasad, focus. The contamination was here. The contamination was a concept of the body derived from Daksha. But she forgot that bodily relationship in trance. The purport is that when one becomes free from all bodily relationships within this material world and simply places himself in the position of an eternal servant of Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that all contamination of his material attachment has been burned by the blazing fire of transcendental ecstasy. Yeah, that should remind you of Bhagavad Gita verse, the famous Esham Tantagata Papam Jananam Punya Karmanam Te Dandvam Namoha Nirmuktva Bhajante Mam Dhadavrata. Yeah? You have to, that should remind, every Bhagavatam should remind you, every line of Prabhupada should remind you of a Bhagavad Gita statement. So, if one forgets all his body relationships within this material and becomes situated in his spiritual identity, Samadhi Siddhi, Ishvara Pranidhana, Sarupa Avastita, I just talked to you. Yeah? So I'm not blowing any smoke up around here, the temple room. It is said that one has been freed from all material contamination by the blazing fire of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. That is the topmost perfection of yoga. If one keeps his bodily relationships within this material world and poses himself as a great yogi, he is not a bona fide yogi. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.15, it is stated, Yat Kirtanam, Yat Smaranam, simply by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is immediately freed from the material contamination. The material bodily concept by the blazing fire of ecstasy. Gnane natuda agnanam esham nashtam ashma. Anyway, there are all these Bhagavad Gita verses that Prabhupada is just talking in English. This effect takes place immediately without a second delay. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, that Sati quit her body means that she gave up within her heart her relationship with Daksha. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also comments that since Sati is the superintendent deity of the external potency, when she quits her body, she did not get a spiritual body, but simply transferred from the body she had received from Daksha. Other commentators also say that she immediately transferred herself into the womb of Menaka, her future mother. She gave up that body she had received from Daksha and immediately transferred herself to another better body. But this does not mean that she got a spiritual body. Okay, so this is one of the most important points I wanted to make, and then I'll leave you alone. This, on the face of what Prabhupada is talking about, that she never received a spiritual body, or it almost sounds like, what is she doing, kind of thing. This kind of, how to understand acharyas, like there is Jiva Goswami's mention here, there is Vishwanath Chakravarti's mention, Thakur's mention here, there is Prabhupada's mention here, like who are we? Where are we? At least me. So we are nowhere in that podium, like outside, like maybe in the dog's pen or something. So we have no position to, but there is a field called hermeneutics. Anybody heard about this before? There's a field called you do. Oh, I don't have another one, Mahaprasad. Maybe you can share with him, Mataji. Yeah. So hermeneutics is the science of interpretations. Hermeneutics is the science of interpretations. And it goes with, okay, someone is going to throw things at me now. So there's also something called exegesis. So these two are called science of interpretations of the texts. How do you understand an acharya? When does an acharya speak as an acharya? When does an acharya just speaks as a friend? When does acharya makes just social statements? When does an acharya just is, talking from his heart as his personal experience? And when does an acharya is giving instructions? And when does an acharya just is, deliberating on some details of practices? All this comes onto a category called hermeneutics. We have to understand this. So here when Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Jiva Goswami or Prabhupada is saying Sati never attained a spiritual body, please understand, it is not to belittle or it is not to trivialize her yogic position. That's not why they're doing it. They're just giving us the high level panoramic way of what a yogic practice means. It means a yoge nanta tanutyajam. When you leave your body, labhante brahma nirvanam. You have to, the yoga position is in your samadhi, you have to be in a position like Bhishma who attained his spiritual position. It's giving you that expansive transcendental panoramic view of yoga. It's by no means trivializing Sati as an individual. It's not like that. So please don't take that as an opportunity to trivialize Sati's yoga. Don't do that. Because sometimes Prabhupada uses some words like karmis or rascals or this or that. He can say that, Prabhupada can say that, we can't say that. Who are we? So we need to distinguish this. When Prabhupada is making these aggressive comments, he can do that. We don't take that as an excuse to go on a rampage on karmis or, the sweet names that we've given them, the mayas, the karmis. We don't take that. Prabhupada can do that. So when Prabhupada is showing the panoramic view of what the real yoga means, is that Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur are saying, in a samadhi of yogic position, you should be able to go to your Swarupa Siddhi. It's not trivializing Sati. Because how can you trivialize Sati? Because Sati is our spiritual, universal mother. Do you understand? She is universal mother, and remember, she was the one who Shiva took consent before taking up the whole poison from the pralaya. Remember? When the churning was happening, do you remember? When the churning was going on and the pralaya visha comes, who does he go and take permission from? The first person. Anybody reading? Remember? Parvati Devi. He goes to Uma. And she goes, and he goes, yes dear. It's like all this is like one sutra for all husbands. Yes dear. Unless you want to sleep on the couch in the garage or something. if you want my good recommendation for all the grihasthas, please learn this sutra. Yes dear. Yes dear. So he goes and he asks his wife, what do you think about this black poison coming out? She knows, she looks at him. Same Sati. In the next life, she's Uma, Parvati. And even before he comes to her Vyasasana, she goes, I know you can do it. Go for it. You can do it. So, and then he goes and drinks the poison. Of course, he can stop it in his throat. Don't try this at home. So Sadhguru goes and tries that on. I seen him doing it on the stage one day. He actually took this kala, like some black poison, and he wishes with kara pashu some milk, and then he drank it on the stage. Okay, no comments. I won't make any comments here. So I'll just Radhika Prasad control. So anyway, so although as much as I'm tempted with so many comments, so that's yoga. He goes and then he stops this poison in his throat. So this is the same Shiva. This is the same Sati. So the reason she did that is because she is the Durga fort. She is the maintaining platform. Maya Dhakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Hetunanena Kaunteya. Thank you very much. So she is doing a superintendent's role in this world. So when she is leaving her body, she is just going to her next service. You have to understand. When Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Jiva Goswami or Prabhupada, they are not trivializing Sati's goals or Sati's practices. They are just giving us the panoramic view of how a transcendental yogi should look like. But from Sati point of view, she's just walking to her next service of testing us. testing the souls, testing our self-righteousness. I'm distinct, I'm special. Because why? Because I'm, I have a Diksha name. Look at my Diksha name. Look at my Kantimala. That distinctions. That look at my tilak, She tests us. She has this tough job, thankless job to do. She's just gone to her next service. Wouldn't you do the same? Would you let a devotee just be insulted? Would you let a good devotee be slapped around? So she taught a lesson. She went to her next position. So she is the superintendent, supervisor of this world. She is our Jagan Mata. So we don't trivialize her position. We don't trivialize her yoga powers. We learn from her that she had the power to happily quit her body and with confidence move to her next service. And that's exactly what we are going to do. Yes or yes? Say yes. Say yes. Okay. Say yes. That's what it is. You understand? Yeah? So, I got 5 minutes. I really wanted to leave you guys. Please, I really want to take some questions because I talk too much and I feel like I don't, you must be sick of hearing me. I want to take some questions. I've just quick wrap up. I've spoken about the three protagonists of this story. Who did I speak about who are the three protagonists? Can't hear you guys. I know Prasadam is coming. Who was the first protagonist? Second protagonist? Third protagonist? Very good. And next I spoke about yoga is not some Banaras Rishikesh thing. Okay, not in Kathmandu or something. Yoga is everywhere on this planet. I explained to you by a historical story. Very, very recent, immediate past. Alexander. He goes to Egypt, he meets yogis, oracles. They're yogis. He goes to Macedonia, he's meeting Diogenes. He goes to India, he's meeting Kalyan Rishi, the Andean Rishi. And he says these words. There is something similar about these yogis everywhere. He says this, verbatim. So I've proved to you with a historical record, very recent. Trust, 2,000 years is not much, okay? Not much at all. So this is just 2,000 years ago. So I showed you the panoramic view of yoga is not some Indian thing, not some Nepal thing, not some Bengali, Ganga Sagar thing. It's everywhere. You just give me some time, I'll show you around the whole universe. So yoga power, right? And then we clarified some misunderstanding. We fast forwarded to how, if you just push and fast forward the video, you see how Shiva was protecting the whole universe when the pralay came, the Visha of pralay came. He took it. After doing yes dear. Yeah? Please learn this. If you're planning to marry, this is the sutra before Bhagavad Gita. Yes dear. You'll have nice prasadam, you won't have to sleep in the couch. Yeah? So, what else did I say? And I spoke about how hermeneutics. Anybody remembers the two words? Hermeneutics, and the second word is exegesis. Oh, Edward. I've got to give you Mahaprasad. Exegesis. You may already have read that before. Not yet? Okay. So these are all taught in the universities like Oxford. But the reason they do is, the reason these kind of things came is because they really want to understand what Jesus actually taught, what is recorded in the Bible, and how do we really need to take this. And then these fields came called hermeneutics and exegesis. Exegesis just deals with the translation of the scriptures, and the hermeneutics deals with the interpretations of the scholars and the prophets. And Prabhupada is one of our number one prophet. Yeah? So, and I spoke about the exegesis and how we don't, just because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Jiva Goswami or Prabhupada are kind of trivializing, appear on the surface as if they're trivializing Sati's yogic power, but they're not. They're just showing us the high standard, the herd, show the bar where it's supposed to be. So that we know, it's always, that's the higher taste. The higher taste is at least to know that possibility, there is something higher than what we currently know. currently. That's humility. So they're showing the highest position. They're not trivializing satis. So we need to understand, we don't trivialize sati of her yogic position. We don't do that. Because why? Because she is Jagan Mata. She's our universal mother. Remember? Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadamiham sambhava sarva bhutani tato bhavati bharata. Yeah? So this is 14th chapter. Krishna says, Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadamiham. Mahad Brahma. In this gigantic universal mother, Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadamiham. I beget all these living creatures. Krishna is saying, in this Sati, in this Durga, in the form of Shiva, I beget all these living, everybody, everything you see. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadamyaham sambhava sarva bhutani tato bhavati bharata. Tasam brahma mahad yonir aham bija prajapati. So that's I just wanted to give you a little transcendental vision. I didn't want to, if just in case some people, like a lot of people, because I knock a lot of doors, I speak like I was out on Friday, I was out yesterday, like nearly 16 hours out, nearly maybe 18 hours out there. And I talked to a lot of people, as you can imagine. And there's a lot of this misconception. I want to provide some transcendental vision. We are transcendentalists. This Bhagavatam is transcendental. If you think the world is like a headless body, Prabhupada says that the world is like the headless body. We don't want to be a bodiless head. You understand? We want to understand people out there, what they're struggling with, what are their contentions. You understand? Contentions. So please take some time to understand them. It's got nothing to do with India. It's not nothing to do with Ozimite. It's got nothing to do. Even Aborigines have scriptures of 100,000 verses. Did you know that? Dead set, serious. Mahabharata 100,000 verses. Aborigines have a spiritual text with 100,000 verses. And it sounds so transcendental. Maybe it's a little bit rough, crude. So please see this from a transcendental vision, Bharat. Don't see this like some geographical, Indian or subcontinental or, Nepalese or Bengalis or Indian or Sri Lankan thing. We are here to show the people this torch of transcendental vision. Uttishta Bharata. Rise, O my Bharatas. Yeah? Okay. So, I'm very, very happy and thankful that you're here. Please, like I said, I always said I never take you for granted. Promise. The day I take you for granted is the day I'm dead. I'm serious. I never take you for granted. I'm really thankful that you're here and you have to listen to my boring talks. If you have any questions, don't go by my, the gimmicks of my body. I'm very happy to be corrected and commented. So any questions, please, because we are at the end of this historical story, and I'm hoping you have at least a question or two. Yes, please. Yeah. Very good, very good. Very happy. I'm happy you're paying attention. I wanted to give you a gift, but I don't have any more gifts. So, what happens transcendental though, it's obviously, it goes a lot. Actually, I had someone ask me at a bookstall one day, I was in a fair and the lady asked me, and Persian lady asked me, what do you mean by that? Transcendental panoramic is from the Vedic point. You heard of Vedas before? Do you have any acquaintance with the Vedic wisdoms and peoples and gurus and all that? You might have heard something called Trigunas. Heard that before? Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. Yes. So Sattva, Raja, Tamas. So mostly in this planet, when we are living our daily lives, our lives are mixed with these sattva, raja, tama modes on this planet. We are caught in the gramya, in the gravity of the earthly, worldly visions. To understand, there is a transcendental vision above the bodily platform, above the earthly visions, above the social conventions, above, beyond this. It is the first step, Atato Brahma Jignasa, is to see that there is something beyond our daily breadly vision, daily worldly vision. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah? Yes. Happy? Thank you. Any others? All good? All good? Everything? Okay. Om Tat Sat. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki joy.